Chapter 1550. This battle was really not easy to win. If he didn't have the chaotic flipping sky seal, a heaven-defying domain-type martial technique, he wouldn't have been able to win against so many experts. That is, unless his cultivation base was one level higher. We won, Lu Ming won. Dragon God Valley won first place. The disciples of Dragon God Valley shouted excitedly. Some of them were so excited that they were trembling with tears in their eyes. The Dragon God Valley had a hard time in this battle. From the beginning, they were targeted by the Heavenly God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect, and the Poison sect. They kept killing the disciples of Dragon God Valley. At that time, they were furious and helpless. They even thought that they would be the first to be eliminated and not be able to participate in this treasure sorting meeting. However, they did not expect the situation to turn around. When there were only 4 people left, the Dragon God Valley started to fight back and took the initiative. In the end, when Lu Ming was the only one left, he defeated his opponents consecutively with his invincible talent and clinched the first place. With such a huge contrast, the disciples of the Dragon God Valley were very excited. Of course, Qiyu and the disciples of Silver Dragon God Valley all looked gloomy. However, the disciples of the Heavenly God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect, and the Poison sect looked even worse. In this battle, the 3 great sects could be said to have lost everything. They had suffered a double loss and suffered heavy losses. Although they had killed many people from the Divine Dragon Valley, they were those with weak cultivation levels and were not very talented. However, those who had died in the hands of Lu Ming and the rest were true geniuses. Many of them were elites with medium earth spiritual bodies. In particular, the 3 people who were killed by Lu Ming were elites with high earth spiritual bodies. They had suffered heavy losses. The people of the other sects also had complicated expressions. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the fighting ring, on the handsome and tall figure. In a sense, this treasure sorting meeting was a grand event for one person. That person was Lu Ming. Lu Ming alone dominated this competition. This was something that had never happened since the Treasure Ding Assembly was established. The treasure peddling meeting this time seemed to be held solely for Lu Ming. Ha ha ha, good. In the pavilion of the Dragon God Valley, the Saint Realm Elder stepped out and laughed. He said, "Good," 3 times, showing how excited this Saint Realm Elder was. Now, it's time for the reward. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley looked at the pavilion of the Celestial God sect. The Sage Stage Elder of the Celestial God sect flew out with an ugly expression. He reluctantly took out a jade bottle and said, "The last person remaining in this small meeting will be rewarded with 7 Emperor Domain pills." Then, he tossed the jade bottle to Lu Ming. Lu Ming caught it and opened it to take a look. There were 7 sparkling and translucent Emperor's Domain pills inside. They were dazzling and resplendent, and they emitted a rich medicinal fragrance. Just a whiff of the medicinal fragrance was enough to make one feel comfortable all over. Countless envious and jealous gazes were cast at Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and looked at Tian Shui, Xuaningxin, and Han Sun. He said, "Senior brother Han Sun, senior brother Tian Shui, senior sister, come to the battle stage." They were stunned and stepped onto the battle stage one after another. "Senior brother Han Sun, this Emperor's Domain pill is for you." Lu Ming poured out an Emperor's Domain pill and handed it to Han Sun. Han Sun was stunned and he quickly declined, saying, "I can't accept this. The rule of the small meeting is that only the last person remaining will receive the reward. You're the last person, so the reward naturally belongs to you." Han Sun shook his head. "Senior brother Han Sun, you don't have to be so polite. You were seriously injured in the battle with Saint Yu. This Emperor's Domain pill is what you deserve." Lu Ming said and handed the Emperor's Domain pill over. Seeing Lu Ming's sincere attitude, Han Sun hesitated and said, "Then Han Sun will thank junior brother Lu Ming." Saying this, he received the Emperor's Domain pill with joy. The Emperor's Domain pill was extremely helpful to him. With the help of the Emperor's Domain pill, he would be able to rank up to the 7th layer martial dominator realm in no time. Senior brother, senior sister, there are still 6 pills left. We'll take 2 each. Lu Ming glanced at Tian Chui and Xuaningxin. No way. Junior brother, it's all because of you that you were able to come first in the battle. We didn't help you at all. Xuaningxin shook her head. That's right. I'm worried that you'll share it with us. Tian Chui rejected too. How about this, you'll take 1 each, what do you think? Lu Ming said with a smile. Tian Chui and Xuaningxin hesitated for a moment before agreeing. After giving 1 to Tian Chui and Xuaningxin, Lu Ming kept the remaining 4 Emperor's Domain pills. The 4 Emperor's Domain pills should be able to improve his cultivation. Wait! At that instant, a few figures entered the battle stage. They were He Yu, Yincheng, and a few other disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley. The one who spoke was He Yu. Lu Ming, are you going to keep the rest of the Emperor's Domain pills? So many of us have taken part in the trial. Are you planning to keep them all to yourself? He Yu said with a hollow laugh. Oh? What do you want? Lu Ming said calmly. Of course we'll share them. He Yu said with a hollow laugh. Share them? Bullshit, the rules of the trial state that only the last person will be rewarded. Why should junior brother Lu Ming share the Emperor's Domain pills? Tian Chui snapped in an unpleasant tone. Humph, we all contributed to Lu Ming being able to stay until the end. How could we not share them? He Yu said. Contributed? Lu Ming said as he looked at He Yu with disdain. You're a coward and you didn't follow the rules. You were the first to rush up and you purposely lost. Is this your contribution? I did it on purpose to leave behind a useful body. Otherwise, I'd just be throwing my life away. Moreover, we were facing such a situation in the beginning. So many of our brothers died because you offended the 3 great sects of the Heavenly God sect. He Yu quibbled and made a false accusation in the end. Oh? Is that so? Lu Ming said coldly. Suddenly, Lu Ming moved. He took a step forward and slapped He Yu. He Yu was shocked. He had never expected Lu Ming to attack him. Slap! There was a crisp sound of a slap. Lu Ming had slapped He Yu's face directly. He Yu's body was sent flying like a sandbag. He landed heavily on the ground below the fighting ring. Half of his face was smashed. Lu Ming did not want to waste his breath on such a person. He would fight if he could. He Yu was completely dumbfounded. He lay on the ground and covered his smashed face as he stared blankly at Lu Ming. What right does a piece of trash like you have to share the Emperor's Domain pills? Lu Ming said coldly. At this moment, He Yu came to his senses and shouted crazily, Lu Ming, you're audacious and lawless. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have some strength? Senior and junior brothers, am I right? All of us have contributed, so why should the reward be given to him alone? Chapter 1551. However, those youths were all looking at He Yu with disdain and disdain. Lu Ming had gotten the reward himself. They were not so despicable as to split the reward with Lu Ming. He Yu was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood when he saw everyone's disdainful gazes. He looked at the Sage Realm Elder and said, Elder, you must uphold justice. Shut up and get lost. Don't embarrass yourself here. The Sage State Elder scolded coldly and looked at He Yu with disgust. He Yu turned pale and stood there, tongue-tied. Do you want to be slapped too? Lu Ming looked at the people from Silver City. The people from Silver City turned pale. They did not dare to say a word and quickly left the fighting ring. Alright, this meeting has ended perfectly. Disciples of the 7th level and above, go back and prepare for the treasure sorting meeting. The Sage State Elder of Dragon God Valley said and stepped into the air. Buzz! At this moment, there was a terrifying fluctuation in the sky. A ray of Saint Light fell from the sky and attacked Lu Ming. This ray of Saint Light was too terrifying. It was like a divine sword and its speed was unbelievable. Danger! Danger! At this moment, Lu Ming sensed a fatal danger. The muscles all over his body tightened and his hair stood on end. His instincts told him to retreat, to dodge, but his body seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move at all. Who is it? The sage state elder of Dragon God Valley roared, but it was too late to help. The terrifying ray of Saint Light was about to land on Lu Ming's head. At this moment, there were ripples in the space around Lu Ming like water waves. Poof! The ray of sword light pierced Lu Ming's head. However, Lu Ming's body shattered like glass. It was an afterimage. Then, the space rippled. Lu Ming's body reappeared a few meters away. On Lu Ming's shoulder, Bubble's body glowed as it chirped. It seemed that Lu Ming really thought that he was going to die just now. That was an attack that he couldn't resist. Fortunately, Bubble acted in time. Whing! The pressure in the air grew even stronger. Lu Ming looked up and his pupils shrank. A white figure was walking down from the sky step by step. Son of God. He was the Son of God, who was known as the leader of the top 10 geniuses. Many people were shocked. The Son of God had appeared and even attacked Lu Ming. Could it be that Lu Ming had killed so many people from the Celestial Divine Sect and ruined the Celestial Divine Sect's plan to come in first place? Hence, the Son of God wanted to kill Lu Ming out of anger? A terrifying pressure emanated from the deity's body, pressing down on Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuanixin. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on them. Spacetime domain. It seems that you were the one who secretly sabotaged the Dragon Palace. The Son of God said indifferently as he looked down at Lu Ming coldly. Finally, his gaze fell on Bubble, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He knew what the Son of God was talking about. The Son of God was talking about the sabotage of his God-forbidden ancient void talisman in the Dragon Palace. The attack just now was a test. Bubble had used the spacetime domain, which proved that the person who sabotaged the Dragon Palace was Lu Ming. Of course, if it wasn't Lu Ming, the attack just now would have killed Lu Ming. Why would the Son of God care if he killed the wrong person? Then, the Son of God glanced at Tian Chui and Xuanixin and said coldly, "You were the ones who took away the Dragon Palace's treasury?" "Yes, it was us," Lu Ming said. "Treasures depend on luck and wisdom. Those who are fated will get them." What a joke. Luck and wisdom. Everything is in vain in front of absolute power. The Son of God said indifferently. He stood in the air, his body emitting a milky white holy light like a deity. His tone was full of dominance and confidence in his own power. Lu Ming sneered and said with a hint of mockery, "How did that treasure fall into our hands? After I kill you today, the treasure will still be mine." Strong murderous intent burst out from the Son of God's eyes. The Son of God had won first place in 2 consecutive treasure sorting meetings and was the leader of the top 10 prodigies in the Zhangzhou state. Everything he did was smooth sailing. No one could compete with him for any treasure. But last time, in the trip to the Dragon Palace, he suffered many losses. They had used the Divine Restriction Ancient Void Talisman, but Lu Ming had secretly destroyed it. Later on, they had chased after the Black Real Dragon's corpse, but the Black Real Dragon's corpse had escaped in the end. As for the Dragon Palace treasure house, it had fallen into the hands of Lu Ming and the other 2. Unknowingly, he seemed to have suffered a great loss in front of Lu Ming and the other 2. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming and the other 2, especially Lu Ming. The surrounding people had different expressions, but they all understood that Lu Ming and the Son of God must have had a conflict because of an opportunity. And from the looks of it, the Son of God was at a disadvantage. No wonder his murderous intent was so strong. Lu Ming actually offended the Son of God. Serves him right. Serves him right. Not far away, Hiyu, Silver City, and the others were shouting in their hearts. They gloated and wanted the Son of God to kill Lu Ming immediately. Boom! Holy light shone from the Son of God's body. Endless holy light condensed into a long sword that stood between heaven and earth. Its vast power made many youths tremble. Swoosh! The terrifying sword light slashed violently toward Lu Ming. At this moment, black wings appeared behind Lu Ming's back and a shield appeared in front of him. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin both took out their holy weapons. How could they just sit and wait? Stop! The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley roared. She stepped in the air like a true dragon and reached out a dragon claw toward the sword light. Boom! Heaven and earth roared. The dragon claw and the sword light dissipated. Old man, why are you meddling in the affairs of the younger generation? The Saintess Elder of Heavenly God sect rushed out from the pavilion and slammed his palm toward the Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley. The two of them clashed, and the sky trembled. Their bodies shook and stood in opposite directions. Vast Saintess aura filled the air as the two of them faced each other. Go away! The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley shouted. I told you, why are you meddling in the affairs of the younger generation? Let them settle it themselves. The Saintess Elder of Heavenly God sect sneered. That's right. The treasure auction has ended. We old men have no reason to meddle in the affairs of the younger generation. The Saintess Elder of Heavenly Universe Demon sect said coldly. Then, the Saintess Elder of Desire Poison sect also appeared. He locked onto the Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley to prevent him from meddling. The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley looked terrible. These people were determined to kill Lu Ming here. Is the Heavenly God sect such a sore loser? Seeing that Dragon God Valley and Lu Ming won first place, you want to send people to kill Lu Ming. Are you allowed to win but not others? Chapter 1552. Nonsense. The Sage Realm Elder of the Celestial God sect shouted and looked at Qiu Yingying coldly. Qiu Yingying raised her head stubbornly and looked back at him. That's right. The Celestial God sect is such a sore loser. If you had said so earlier, we wouldn't have competed with you. We would have given you the first place. That's right. Let the other sects not participate. Tell the world that the Celestial God sect is the first in the world. The other disciples of the Dragon God Valley also shouted and glared at the deity and the Sage Realm Elder of the Celestial God sect. They directly said that the deity wanted to kill Lu Ming because Lu Ming had won first place. That was why the Celestial God sect wanted to kill Lu Ming. Shut up! The deity shouted coldly. His voice was like thunder, and a terrifying aura pressed down on the disciples of the Dragon God Valley. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley were shocked, as if a mountain was pressing down on them, making it hard for them to breathe. I, the deity, have never needed a reason to kill. But today, I will give you one. The deity said indifferently. Because they have done something they shouldn't have done. Therefore, they must die. Even if today's meeting didn't happen, they must die. Hee, what do you mean by something you shouldn't have done? Didn't you just let a few people with lower cultivation than you take away your treasures? Deity, how dare you kill people? A deep voice was heard. In the void, a purple light flashed and a figure appeared in the sky. Zifeng. The demon of the Dragon God Valley, Zifeng. You want to stop me? The deity looked at Zifeng coldly. If you want to kill the people of the Dragon God Valley, we must fight. Zifeng replied. You are no match for me. The deity said coldly. We haven't fought for 3 years. Not necessarily. Zifeng said with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Is that so? Then I will kill you first. The deity was very aggressive. He took a step forward and the world rumbled. Terrifying saint light shot up into the sky and turned into a snow-white saint sword, slashing towards Zifeng. Roar! Zifeng let out a loud roar, and the sound of a dragon's roar reverberated in the air. Purple light radiated from his body, and dense purple dragon scales appeared on his skin. 2 dragon horns actually sprouted from his forehead. As for Zifeng's hands, they transformed into dragon claws. With a roar, Zifeng charged at the Son of God. His claws continued to claw out, shattering the Son of God's holy blade. Holy light slash! The divine child's expression remained calm. He clenched his fist in the air and holy light coalesced into a holy blade, slashing at Zifeng. Boom! Boom! The two monstrous geniuses continued to fight in the air, exchanging more than 10 moves. The sky seemed to be divided into white and purple. The oppressive pressure made it difficult for people to breathe. How terrifying! Is this the power of the top 10 monstrous geniuses? It's amazing. I've seen semi-sage experts fight before. But they weren't as strong as this. They can easily kill an ordinary semi-sage expert, right? How terrifying! How could someone below the Saint Realm reach such a level? Many people cried out, feeling extremely shocked. Even the Sage Realm elders had grave expressions on their faces. Clearly, these Saint Realm experts had no choice but to pay attention to such combat prowess. The sky was completely covered by white and purple light. Two figures were crisscrossing each other. Occasionally, dragon roars could be heard. Boom! Suddenly, there was a terrifying tremor in the sky. A figure quickly retreated, taking dozens of steps back in the air before coming to a stop. It was Zifeng. At this moment, there was a deep cut on Zifeng's body that went straight to his bones. There was a terrifying power of holy light that was constantly eroding Zifeng's body. There was a trace of blood at the corner of Zifeng's mouth. His aura was somewhat weak. Could it be that Zifeng was defeated? In the air, the Son of God strolled out. His clothes were neat and tidy, and his aura was stable. It didn't seem like he had just experienced a great battle. Everyone was shocked. It seemed that the Son of God had won, and it didn't seem like a difficult victory. The Son of God was indeed the leader of the top 10 monstrous geniuses of the Tsang state. Although they were both top 10 monstrous geniuses, Zifeng didn't seem to be a match for the Son of God. I've said it before. You're no match for me. Today, I want to kill the three of them. No one can save them. The Son of God said, full of confidence. No one could save whoever he wanted to kill. This was the dominance of the Son of God. Originally, if he wanted to kill Lu Ming and the other two, he could have chosen to do it elsewhere. That way, there would be less resistance and it would be easier. However, he chose to do it here because he was that domineering. He wanted to kill Lu Ming and the other two in front of everyone to build his reputation. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Lu Ming laughed. His laughter was full of mockery. What are you laughing at? The Son of God said coldly. I'm laughing at you, Son of God. You want to kill me only because you're afraid. Why do you have to find so many high-sounding reasons? Lu Ming laughed. I'm afraid. What a joke. What do you have that makes me afraid? The Son of God said. Because of my potential. Today, you've seen my potential. You're afraid that I'll catch up to you in the future. You're afraid that I'll take the first place in the treasure sorting convention 3 years later. That's why you're afraid. You're afraid of my potential. That's why you want to kill me today to prevent future troubles. Lu Ming said loudly. The words caused the hearts of many to shudder. The potential that Lu Ming had displayed this time was indeed shocking. With the cultivation of the fourth-layer Martial Emperor realm, he had defeated and killed 10 top experts consecutively and obtained the first place in the treasure ordering party. In the history of the Tsang continent, there had never been such a shocking achievement since the treasure ordering party was established. Lu Ming did have the potential to be a threat to the Son of God. Lu Ming's cultivation was still weak now, but in another 6 or 9 years, would he be able to defeat the Son of God? Could it be that the Son of God was not afraid at all? Such a thought emerged in many people's minds. The Son of God wore a cold expression as he said, "You will never be my match. I have no match in the Tsangzhou continent. My opponents are outside of the Tsangzhou continent. The Son of God spoke with great confidence. Among his peers in the Zhangzhou continent, there was no one worthy of his attention. He had set his sights outside of the Zhangzhou continent to compete with the peerless geniuses outside of the Zhangzhou continent. Even the terrifying geniuses of the monarch forces were his match. Since you are so confident, I will challenge you now. In 3 years, at the treasure sorting convention, we will fight to the death. Do you dare? Lu Ming said loudly, his voice echoing throughout the entire place. Lu Ming's voice was also filled with great confidence. He had also come this far by stepping over the bodies of countless geniuses. He was also confident that he was invincible. The Son of God had a better background. He had been cultivating in the heavenly god sect of Yuanlu since he was young. The cultivation environment there was much better than Lu Ming's. Moreover, the Son of God was at least 7 or 8 years older than Lu Ming. Now, the Son of God's cultivation was much higher than his, which was why he could look down on him from the sky. However, he was confident that in a few years, he would be able to catch up to the Son of God and stand in front of him as an equal. He would not be looked down upon like he was now. Chapter 1553. The deity stood in the air and looked down at Lu Ming. He did not change his mind because of Lu Ming's words. His eyes were filled with killing intent. What a joke. What kind of provocation is this? You are clearly afraid. Or rather, the celestial sect is afraid that I will grow stronger. So, they sent you here to find a reason to kill me. Otherwise, why would they not even dare to accept my challenge? Lu Ming said. No matter how glib your tongue is, you will still die today. The deity shouted coldly. Holy light burst out and formed a holy light blade that illuminated the area. Roar! Zifeng let out a dragon's roar and charged at the deity. Get lost! The Sage Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley roared. He wanted to help Zifeng, but he was blocked by the Sage Realm Elders of the Celestial Sect. In addition, the Elders of the Desire Poison Sect were glaring at him. Let's go! Lu Ming sent a message to Tian Shui and Xuaningxin and prepared to retreat. However, at this moment, the clouds in the sky surged and a foot appeared in the void. This foot was like the foot of a giant. It was huge and came down from the sky, stomping down on the deity. Who is it? The deity roared. Holy light burst out and he slammed his palm into the sky, forming a holy light palm print that blasted towards the giant foot. However, when the palm print came into contact with the giant foot, it collapsed. The giant foot did not stop and continued to stomp on the deity. The deity roared and a white jade pagoda appeared on his body. The white jade pagoda expanded and a vast sage realm aura burst out. Boom! The giant foot stomped on the white jade pagoda. The pagoda shook violently and the light shield on the pagoda collapsed. Bam! The deity's body fell like a meteorite and crashed heavily on the fighting ring. A terrifying roar came from the fighting ring and cracks appeared on it. One should know that the fighting ring was extremely hard. Lu Ming and the others had not been able to leave a mark on the fighting ring, but now, the fighting ring had cracked. The deity's face was pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He struggled to get up and his hair danced in the wind. He was filled with killing intent as he stared at the sky. A burly figure appeared in the sky and stepped down. The figure seemed to be in his 30s. He had a burly figure and was emitting a vast aura. Third senior brother, it's third senior brother. Third senior brother is here. That's great. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin shouted excitedly when they saw the man. Third senior brother? Lu Ming's heart stirred. His master, the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley, had a total of 9 true disciples. However, Lu Ming had only met his second senior brother, Long Yuanshan, Tian Shui, and Xuaningxin. He had not met any of the other senior brothers and sisters. It was said that this third senior brother, Yang Tianzong, had broken through to the Saint Realm more than 10 years ago. He often went out to train. Who would have thought that he would appear here? Seventh junior brother, eighth junior sister, long time no see. Yang Tian Zhangtian and Xue Ningxin nodded. They then looked at Lu Ming and said, "This must be junior brother. You are indeed a dragon among men." Lu Ming greets third senior brother. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Yang Tianzong. "Ha ha ha, there's no need to be so polite. Let's settle this first." Yang Tianzong laughed and looked at the deity. He sneered and said, "You are very arrogant. Come, let me see what you can do." Boom! Yang Tianzong took a step forward and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. It was the aura of a sage, the aura of a sage. The terrifying aura of a sage pressed down on the deity. At the same time, Yang Tianzong stretched out his hand and a huge dragon claw appeared, grabbing at the deity. Whoosh! A terrifying demonic saber slashed out from the side. A combat sword made of poisonous gas pierced through the void and collided with the dragon claw, blocking it. At the same time, two elders appeared in front of Yang Tianzong. They were the Sage Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect. This is a matter of the younger generation. Why are you, a sage, interfering? Let them settle it themselves. If you want to fight, I will accompany you. The Elder of the Sky Universe Demon Sect said coldly. The Elder of the Desire Poison Sect did not say anything, but his attitude said it all. His body was filled with poisonous gas that kept rolling. "Two old men, I will deal with you first." Yang Tianzong's eyes turned cold as he roared like a dragon. Dragon scales appeared on his arms as he took a step forward and charged towards the Saint Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect. Kill! Kill! The Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect shouted as they charged at Yang Tianzong with terrifying auras. Boom! 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 There were 5 to 6 explosions in the sky. Then, the crowd saw two figures frantically retreating. Their bodies were trembling and there was a claw mark on each of their bodies. Their bodies were almost pierced through and their bodies were covered in blood. They had lost. The two Sage Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect had joined forces and attacked together. However, they had been defeated in just 5 to 6 moves. They had been injured by Yang Tianzong and their clothes were stained with blood. The difference in their combat strength was too great. This time, I will spare your lives. Next time, I will kill you. Yang Tianzong said coldly. The two Sage Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect had ugly expressions on their faces. However, there was fear in their eyes. Also, let me correct you on one thing. I am still a few years away from 50 years old. Therefore, I am still part of the younger generation. As for cultivation, this kid is a sage-to-be and he is 7 to 8 years older than my junior brother. If he can attack my junior brother, why can't I attack him? Having said that, Yang Tianzong looked at the deity's son again. Boom! Yang Tianzong suddenly took a step forward and a giant foot that looked exactly like Yang Tianzong appeared in the sky and stomped down on the deity's son again. The deity's son shouted as he tried to block the attack with his holy weapon. However, he was almost flattened by the attack. He knelt on the ground and vomited blood. Don't you think that you are strong? Aren't you just trash in front of me? Yang Tianzong mocked. You have only cultivated for 10 more years than me. If you give me 10 more years, no, 5 more years, I will be able to stomp you under my feet. The deity's son shouted angrily as his eyes turned red. He was the deity's son and he was extremely talented. Ever since he rose to power, he had been surrounded by many people. He had never been humiliated like this before. He had knelt on the ground in front of everyone. At that moment, he was furious. He wanted to kill Yang Tianzong and everyone else who had witnessed the scene. You are not qualified to challenge me. If you want to challenge me, you will have to defeat my junior brother in 3 years' time. If you can defeat my junior brother, I will give you a chance to challenge me. Yang Tianzong sneered. All right. The deity's son shouted as he looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I accept your challenge. We will fight at the treasure sorting meeting in 3 years' time. I will take your life in 3 years' time. Lu Ming said coldly. Ha ha ha, how arrogant of you. However, let me tell you this. I will definitely break through to the Saint Realm in 3 years' time. If you want to challenge me, you will have to defeat my junior brother and pass the treasure sorting meeting. Only then will you be qualified to challenge me. The deity's son said coldly as he regained his confidence. He firmly believed that he would not be defeated. Chapter 1554. The Divine Son will break through to the Saint Realm in 3 years. Many people were shocked. However, it was normal. The Divine Son had been in the Sage-to-Be realm for almost 10 years. With his talent, it would not be difficult for him to break through to the Saint Realm. Once he broke through to the Saint Realm, his status would be completely different. He would truly enter the upper echelons of the Zhangzhou state. At the same time, he would not be able to participate in the treasure sorting convention. No one else would have a chance if a Sage-to-Be participated in the treasure sorting convention. In other words, if Lu Ming wanted to challenge the Divine Son, he would have to pass the treasure sorting convention. If he was killed at the treasure sorting convention, there would be no way to challenge him. In 3 years, Lu Ming won't stand a chance. Someone shook his head and sighed. That's right. He won't stand a chance. Others shook their heads. Lu Ming was only in the LV4 martial royal realm. In 3 years, no matter how fast Lu Ming improved, it would be extremely fast for him to reach the LV8 or even the LV9 martial royal realm. However, what was the use of reaching the LV8 or LV9 martial royal realm? How could he fight with the Divine Son? Even if the Divine Son was still in the Sage-to-Be realm, Lu Ming would not be his match. Once the Divine Son broke through to the Saint Realm, Lu Ming would not stand a chance. It was not impossible for someone to become a Sage-to-Be before reaching the Saint Realm. Since ancient times, not many people had been able to do so. Every one of those people was a terrifying genius whose name shook the world. Then I'll let you live for 3 more years. The Divine Son said coldly. Then, without saying anything else, he turned and left. He turned into a beam of saint light and disappeared. Let's go. The Saint Realm elder of the Celestial God sect shouted and left. The disciples of the Celestial God sect hurriedly followed and left. After the people of the Celestial God sect left, the people of the Sky Universe Demons sect and the Poison sect also left. Then, the people of the other sects also left. Lu Ming, if there's a chance, let's fight again in the future. Luo Xiang from the Life and Death Sword sect said loudly. Okay, let's fight another day. Lu Ming said. Goodbye. Luo Xiang cupped his fists and left. Thank you for your help, third senior brother. Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and Xuaningxin cupped their fists at Yang Tianzong. Ha, you and I are brothers, there's no need to be so courteous. This time, I just happened to pass by Tsang Mountain and wanted to take a look. I didn't expect to encounter something like this. Yang Tianzong laughed heartily. Third senior brother, youngest junior brother defeated and killed 10 prodigies with superior earthly spiritual bodies all by himself and won first place in the treasure sorting party. Xuaning thought. Oh. Amazing, amazing. Little junior brother is truly blessed by the heavens. It's still master who has good taste. Yang Tianzong's eyes lit up. He hadn't been here for long, so he didn't know that Lu Ming had won first place at the treasure ordering convention. Senior brother, you flatter me. After that, everyone chatted as they flew toward the Dragon God Valley. Among the crowd of Dragon God Valley, Hiyu, Silver City, and the others were filled with unwillingness. Damn it, even under such circumstances, Lu Ming managed to escape. Hiyu cursed in his heart. Soon, everyone returned to the Dragon God Valley. Junior brother, junior sister, you've had a great battle. You should go back to your rooms to heal. Yang Tianzong said. Tian Shui and Xuanning nodded. They had been severely injured in the previous battle and were far from recovering. Many of the other disciples of Dragon God Valley were also injured and had returned to their rooms to heal. Everyone returned to their rooms. When Lu Ming returned to his room, he took out a pile of origin stones and devoured them to recover his true origin. Half a day later, Lu Ming had fully recovered. At this moment, Lu Ming waved his hand and a few storage rings appeared in his hand. He had obtained all of them from killing his opponents at the treasure sorting party. Lu Ming began to count them. When he was done, Lu Ming was overjoyed. This time, he had gained a lot. One should know that the people he had killed were all prodigies and were extremely wealthy. Needless to say, there were hundreds of millions of origin stones. There were also dozens of spiritual weapons of the Emperor level. There were even as many as 6 sacred weapons. In particular, there were 3 sky-piercing flying shuttles. The 3 sky-piercing flying shuttles were found in the storage rings of the 3 top prodigies, Mo He and Wu Qiandu. It was really a case of searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. Lu Ming had always wanted to buy a sky-piercing flying shuttle. He did not expect to obtain 3 at once. Lu Ming picked one, erased the mark of its original owner, and began to refine it. It was very easy to refine the sky-piercing flying shuttle. In less than a day, Lu Ming had refined it. The sky-piercing flying shuttle floated above Lu Ming's palm and changed its size according to Lu Ming's will. After playing with it for a while, Lu Ming put away the sky-piercing flying shuttle and took out the flowing element gloves to refine it. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed. In the past few days, news of what had happened at the Treasure Dingding convention had quickly spread throughout the Tsang Mountain. Furthermore, it had spread to the entire Tsang province at an extremely fast speed. Lu Ming's name shook everyone's heart. The most talked about in this competition was Lu Ming's name. He had defeated and killed 10 top prodigies all by himself and obtained first place. In the end, he had challenged the God Sun. 3 years later, he would fight the God Sun to the death. Although no one was optimistic about Lu Ming's chances, believing that Lu Ming would be able to fight the God Sun in 3 years, many people remembered the name Lu Ming. 3 days later, the flowing element gloves were refined by Lu Ming. With a thought, the flowing element gloves turned into liquid and wrapped around Lu Ming's right palm. As Lu Ming injected his true yuan, the flowing element gloves became heavier and heavier. In the end, even Lu Ming's arm was trembling slightly. So heavy, so heavy. Coupled with the primal chaos domain and the hell-suppressing heaven skill, how terrifying would the power of this punch be? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. He couldn't wait to find an expert to test it out. With a thought, the flowing element gloves seemed to come alive and burrowed into Lu Ming's skin, disappearing without a trace. With a thought, it would reappear again. It was very convenient to use. It's time to leave. Lu Ming muttered under his breath. There were still 5 days before the start of the treasure sorting assembly, but Lu Ming planned to leave and return to the Dragon God Valley to cultivate in seclusion. After all, he had seen the strength of the God Sun, Zifeng, Wang Jian, and the rest of the top 10 prodigies of Tsang State. There was no point in staying and watching the treasure sorting assembly. It was better to seize the time and cultivate. For Lu Ming, time was the most important thing. Lu Ming got up and walked out to find Tian Chui. "Junior brother, you're leaving?" Tian Chui asked in surprise. "Yes, I came to the treasure sorting assembly to see the strength of the top 10 prodigies of Tsang State. Now that I've seen it, there's no point in staying any longer. So, I plan to return to the Dragon God Valley." Chapter 1555. Oh. In that case, junior brother, I'll lend you my sky-piercing flying shuttle. Tian Chui said. There's no need. I already have the sky-piercing flying shuttle. Mo He and the others contributed many good things. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took out 2 holy weapons, returning them to Tian Chui. Say goodbye to 8th senior sister for me. Lu Ming cupped his fists and soared into the air, flying out of the Tsang Mountain. After leaving the range of the Tsang Mountain, Lu Ming waved his hand, and the sky-piercing flying shuttle appeared. It rapidly expanded until it was 100 meters long. The doors opened, and Lu Ming entered the sky-piercing flying shuttle. This sky-piercing flying shuttle was very similar to Tian Chui's, and its grade was about the same. They were both low-grade sky-piercing flying shuttles. The higher-grade sky-piercing flying shuttles were faster, but they were shockingly expensive. Ordinary people could not afford them. After Lu Ming put away the origin stones, he determined the direction of the Divine Dragon Valley and drove the sky-piercing flying shuttle. Whoosh! The sky-piercing flying shuttle turned into a beam of light and disappeared, quickly flying in the direction of the Divine Dragon Valley. As for Lu Ming, he sat cross-legged in the sky-piercing flying shuttle and took out a jade bottle. The jade bottle contained the rewards of the treasure peddling meeting, the 4 Emperor Domain pills. Even with the sky-piercing flying shuttle, it would take about half a month to return to the Divine Dragon Valley. He could use this time to cultivate and refine the 4 Emperor Domain pills. Lu Ming poured out an Emperor Domain pill and swallowed it. Boom! After the Emperor Domain pill entered his stomach, it immediately turned into surging energy. What a strong energy! It is more than 10 times stronger than the Emperor Domain fruit. Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, he rejoiced. The Emperor Domain pill was indeed a pill that could raise a mid-stage martial monarch's cultivation by 1 layer. Its medicinal effects were shocking. It was refined with 9 Emperor Domain fruits and other precious herbs. Following that, Lu Ming focused and started to refine the medicinal energy. Time passed quickly, and 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. In 7 days, Lu Ming refined the 4 Emperor Domain pills. Peak 5th layer martial monarch. Lu Ming opened his eyes and felt the vast and boundless energy in his body, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Within 7 days, after refining the 4 Dominator pills, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved by 1 layer, reaching the peak of the 5th layer martial Dominator realm. What others could achieve with just 1 Emperor Domain pill, Lu Ming had to use a total of 4 Emperor Domain pills to achieve. But Lu Ming was still very satisfied. His cultivation had increased by 1 layer, and it was unknown how much time Lu Ming had saved. This was something that could improve both his origin energy and domain. Now, Lu Ming's chaotic domain had also reached the peak of level 5. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, if he participated in the treasure banquet, he could easily defeat a genius like Emohi. There was no need for him to use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. The treasure auction has already begun, right? Lu Ming's heart thumped. Then, he shook his head with a smile and closed his eyes to consolidate his cultivation base. In the blink of an eye, another day had passed. Late at night, in the vast mountains, Lu Ming's space-piercing flying shuttle flashed across the sky like a meteor. Boom! Lu Ming was cultivating when the space-piercing flying shuttle suddenly shook violently. Someone is attacking the space-piercing flying shuttle. Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes and looked outside through the crystal glass of the space-piercing flying shuttle. Above the pitch-black clouds, a few large hands came down from the sky and heavily bombarded the space-piercing flying shuttle. Rumble! The space-piercing flying shuttle shook violently as if it was about to explode. Then, a large hand grabbed the 100-meter-long space-piercing flying shuttle and smashed it into a nearby mountain. Boom! The mountain shook and shattered, sending debris flying everywhere. Damn it! Lu Ming's eyes were cold. His body moved and he rushed out of the space-piercing flying shuttle. The space-piercing flying shuttle shrank rapidly and was put away by Lu Ming. In the pitch-black night sky, a dozen black figures appeared and surrounded Lu Ming. Kill! Without any superfluous words, one of them said coldly. Whoosh! 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 More than a dozen terrifying sword lights stabbed toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. 7th layer martial royal realm, all of them are experts above the 7th layer martial royal realm. There are even some 8th layer martial royal realm experts. Lu Ming's eyes widened. These people were all experts. None of them were below the 7th layer martial royal realm. They were all high-level martial royal realm experts. Without any hesitation, the black feather wings appeared. With a flap, Lu Ming soared into the sky. Whoosh! Whoosh! A few terrifying sword lights suddenly appeared above his head. 8th layer martial royal realm. The people who appeared above his head were all 8th layer martial royal realm experts. Who is it? Countless thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Who wants to kill me? He had only told Tian Chui when he came out, but Tian Chui would not betray him. It was very likely that someone had been watching Lu Ming. As soon as Lu Ming came out of the Tsang Mountain, he had been targeted. The reason why they had only attacked now was that they were waiting for Lu Ming to lower his guard. They had also confirmed that there were no experts following Lu Ming and that Lu Ming was alone. Kill! Lu Ming roared. The divine sword art burst out and formed a terrifying soul attack toward the people above his head. However, the other party's body merely trembled slightly and he seemed to be fine. The sword gleam did not stop and he continued to charge toward Lu Ming. The divine sword art is useless. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. At the same time, the black dragon spear appeared in his hand and he thrust it forward. Whoosh! A ray of spear light destroyed a ray of sword light and directly pierced through a black-robed figure. The destructive power wiped out all the life force of that person. A LV8 martial royal realm expert was killed by Lu Ming. However, the other sword lights were already close to Lu Ming. The black wings flapped and blocked Lu Ming's body. Clang! Clang! The sword light stabbed Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body shook and he was sent flying. Whoosh! With the help of this force, Lu Ming performed the wind origin skill. The black wings flapped again and he rushed forward. Buzz! The black dragon spear swept out and turned into a 1,000-meter spear ray. A cultivator of the 7th royal martial realm was hit by the attack. 13 streams of energy overlapped and his body exploded. The terrifying energy swept towards a second cultivator of the 8th royal martial realm. That cultivator screamed in agony and was killed as well. With the black dragon spear in his hand, Lu Ming's attack was even more powerful. Even without the holy weapon, Lu Ming's cultivation was at the peak of LV5 martial royal realm. It was not too difficult for him to kill an ordinary LV8 martial royal realm expert. With the holy weapon, it was easy for him to kill an ordinary LV8 martial royal realm expert. Lu Ming killed 2 people in a row. However, the other sword lights fell on Lu Ming. Lu Ming blocked with the black wings, but his body was also sent flying. After all, his opponents were LV7 and LV8 martial royal realm experts. Although Lu Ming could kill those above his level, he could not deny their terrifying attack power. They were all high-level martial royal realm experts and their attack power was absolutely terrifying. If the sword light fell on Lu Ming, even if Lu Ming did not die, he would be injured. Attack with all your strength. A voice was heard. Kill, kill. The sword light continued to stab at Lu Ming. However, some of them changed their swords to sabers and shouted. The terrifying saber light tore through the void and lit up the night sky, slashing at Lu Ming. This is the silent saber art. Chapter 1556. The intentionless saber art was the ultimate technique of the intentionless saber sect, one of the 13 top sects of the Tsang continent. There were people from the intentionless saber sect among them. However, there was no conflict between him and the intentionless saber sect. Why would the intentionless saber sect want to kill him? Also, who were the other people who used swords? The heavenly divinity sect, the heavenly demonic sect, or the poison desire sect? Lu Ming's mind was filled with thoughts, but he did not stop moving. A shield appeared and expanded rapidly, hovering behind Lu Ming. He then flapped his black wings. Lu Ming randomly chose a direction and dashed toward it at high speed. Shush! Shush! The black dragon spear continued to thrust forward, emitting a terrifying spear glow that penetrated the air and collided with his opponents. Bang! Bang! A deafening explosion took place in the sky. Lu Ming broke through the opponent's attack and pierced the dantian of an 8th-level martial emperor with his spear, killing him instantly. At the same time, the black feather wings were like two heavenly sabers. With a slash, two 7th-level martial emperors were split into two. Buzz! In front of him, a magnificent saber glow slashed toward Lu Ming, as if it could break the heavens and earth apart. 9th-layer martial dominator realm. Lu Ming's eyes widened rapidly. At that moment, Lu Ming was completely exhausted, thus he could not counterattack. He could only hold the black dragon spear in front of him. Dang! The saber glow struck the black dragon spear, causing it to vibrate vigorously. Lu Ming's figure was knocked backward. Behind him, a storm of attacks was launched. The sword glow and saber glow landed on the sacred weapon shield and knocked it flying. Lu Ming's body felt slightly numb, as he could feel the qi and blood in his body turning restless. There were too many experts, all of them at the advanced martial dominator realm. Sending so many people to kill Lu Ming was a sure kill move, as they were determined to take Lu Ming's life. There was nothing to be said, as this was a battle of life and death. Lu Ming let out a roar as a dragon's cry was heard from his body. Dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. At the same time, the third bloodline appeared, causing a force to surge into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming's strength to grow stronger. Kill! The black wings on Lu Ming's back flapped wildly, bringing about gusts of wind. In a flash, Lu Ming's figure rushed to the rear. The black dragon spear swept out with the power to sweep away 1,000 soldiers. Lu Ming killed the two 7th-level martial emperor experts who were dashing toward him at high speed. Kill! 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 Lu Ming used his black feather wings and shield to protect himself. With the black dragon spear in his hand, he used all his strength to kill his way into the crowd. The 13 accumulating power strikes was simply too powerful. Combined with the power of a sacred weapon, an ordinary 8th-layer martial dominator would not be able to withstand it, let alone a 7th-layer martial dominator. With his long spear, Lu Ming seemed to have transformed into a killing machine, constantly reaping lives. Of the dozen or so experts, only a few were left after being killed by him. Of course, he had also been struck many times. However, with the protection of the Saint Weapon Shield and the black feather wings, as well as his freakish dragon god battle physique, he had not suffered any serious injuries. However, at this moment, several figures appeared in the dark night. This time, there were 20 to 30 people, all of whom were high-level martial dominators. So many experts. They really think highly of me. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. It was shocking to see such a terrifying force being sent out at once. Kill! Kill! 6 figures stepped out, unleashing terrifying auras. They were all 9th-layer martial dominators. Swish! Below him, a terrifying sword ray was launched at Lu Ming. It was another 9th-layer martial dominator. Get lost! Lu Ming bellowed as he executed the 9 dragons sky stomp. He took 9 consecutive steps and 9 dragons danced in the air, charging toward the person below. Boom! The sword ray collided with the 9 dragons, producing a terrifying explosion. Following this, the sword ray shattered the 9 dragons and continued to slash at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure moved and he moved horizontally in one direction. However, there was still a 9th-level martial emperor in that direction. There were 9th-layer martial dominators in all directions. Kill! The black dragon spear swept out toward the 9th-layer martial dominator behind him. So what if he was a 9th-layer martial dominator? He would still kill him. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, even without a sacred weapon, he could fight against an ordinary 9th-layer martial dominator and even kill him. With a sacred weapon, he was even more fearless. Clang! The black dragon spear collided with the opponent's saber. The opponent's body shook violently and he was sent flying. Kill! Lu Ming targeted this and continued to charge toward the other party. The black dragon spear became 1,000 meters long and pressed down on the opponent. Boom! The opponent tried his best to resist, but he could not stop it. He spat out mouthfuls of blood and was sent flying. However, Lu Ming used the wind origin skill and chased after the opponent. "Let's attack together." A cold voice was heard as the other ninth-layer martial dominators charged at Lu Ming. Their terrifying attacks knocked away the sacred weapon and shield. Some of the attacks landed on the black wings, causing Lu Ming's body to shake violently. However, Lu Ming's eyes were still firm as he stared at one of the opponents and charged at him. Another spear thrust out and that person spat out mouthfuls of blood. His arm was broken. Whoosh! In the end, Lu Ming threw the black dragon spear out. The black dragon spear pierced through the air like a black lightning bolt. It contained the terrifying power of the 13th strike and suddenly exploded, piercing through the ninth-layer martial dominator. A terrifying force vibrated and the ninth-layer martial dominator's body exploded. Lu Ming suddenly turned around and threw a punch at one of the ninth-layer martial dominators. The flowing element gloves appeared and he poured his true yuan into them. The flowing element gloves rapidly became heavier. Boom! This punch contained the power of the chaotic realm and the hell-suppressing skill. It was terrifyingly powerful and could destroy anything. When the fist collided with the opponent's battle sword, the Emperor's battle sword was unable to withstand the force and exploded. The terrifying fist energy bombarded the body of the cultivator of the Ninth Emperor realm. He screamed in agony as his body was pierced through and exploded. In an instant, 2 ninth-layer martial dominators were killed. His sacred weapon is too powerful. Some people were astounded. Even the ninth-layer martial dominators were killed. "Back off and kill him with your sacred weapons," someone in the sky said coldly. A few ninth-layer martial dominators backed off, but a few others stepped forward. Their auras were also ninth-layer martial dominators. There were too many experts. There were more than 10 ninth-layer martial dominators. Furthermore, the ninth-layer martial dominators were even more terrifying as they all had sacred weapons. One of them had a blood-red pagoda floating above his head, emitting a terrifying aura. Another person held a battle blade in his hand. That battle blade was also a holy armament. The third person held an iron rod, which was also a sacred weapon. The fourth person had a mountain floating above his head, which was also a sacred weapon. The 4 ninth-layer martial dominators controlled 4 sacred weapons to seal off the area. Attack! The person in the sky gave the order. Kill! Chapter 1557. The power of a ninth-layer martial dominator controlling a sacred weapon was too terrifying. Lu Ming did not dare to face the attack head-on, as he continued to dodge the saber glow. "Will dispersing light." That person spat out this sentence coldly. That saber gleam actually split apart all of a sudden, biting Lu Ming's body tightly. No matter how fast Lu Ming was, he actually could not avoid that saber gleam. It's really the intentionless saber art. You guys are from the intentionless saber sect. Lu Ming let out a furious roar. He had seen the geniuses of the intentionless saber sect using the intentionless saber art at the treasure pedestal meeting. The person's eyes were cold and emitted a strong murderous intent, as the saber glow did not stop. Dang! Lu Ming blocked the attack with the sacred weapon shield and the black feather wings, but after being struck by the saber glow, his body shuddered violently and was sent flying like a cannonball. Puff! In the process of being sent flying, Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of a ninth-layer martial dominator controlling a sacred weapon was too shocking. Even with the protection of the sacred weapon, Lu Ming was still injured. Bang! Above him, a strong gust of wind was blowing, as a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. A pitch-black mountain was pressing down on Lu Ming. Another expert made his move, also aiming a sacred weapon at Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming channeled his true energy into the flowing force gloves as he executed the heavenly art of suppressing hell and threw a punch at the small mountain. Bang! A shocking explosion took place as the small mountain was sent flying by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's body fell to the ground like a meteorite. Puff! Lu Ming spat out another mouthful of blood, as his arm trembled slightly. Bang! An iron rod, which was thousands of meters long, swept toward Lu Ming like a pillar that could hold up the sky. Lu Ming used the black wings to protect his body. With a boom, Lu Ming was sent flying. He crashed into a huge mountain, causing it to crack. The ninth-layer Martial Dominator Realm was the peak of the Martial Dominator Realm, granting him a terrifying strength. Previously, Lu Ming had managed to kill the two cultivators at lightning speed with the help of his sacred weapon, but it did not mean that a ninth-layer Martial Dominator Realm cultivator was weak. On top of that, there were 4 ninth-layer Martial Dominators controlling the sacred weapons. Their combined strength was even more terrifying. Lu Ming was no match for them at all. Bubbles, let's go. Lu Ming called out Bubbles. Under such circumstances, the only way out was to retreat. It was unwise to fight head-on. As for Ming Lian's second body, Lu Ming had no intention of calling him out. Given the cultivation of Ming Lian's second body and the fact that he didn't have a saint artifact to protect him, he would only be killed if he called out. Chirp chirp, the bubble cried out and opened up a space-time tunnel. Lu Ming and Bai Yunfei rushed in. However, at the next moment, Lu Ming seemed to have knocked into a wall and his body was blocked. The space-time tunnel had lost its effect. Buzz! Inscriptions appeared in all directions. Over 10 black-robed cultivators stood in different directions. Each of them had a formation disk floating above their heads, sealing off the space. Such a meticulous plan. Lu Ming's heart turned cold. It was obvious that the enemy was serious about killing them, as they had taken all of Lu Ming's trump cards into consideration. They also knew that Lu Ming had Bubbles with him, allowing him to escape using the space-time tunnel. The enemy had already set up a space-sealing formation to seal off the space. Even Bubbles would not be able to escape. It was not that Bubbles' space-time domain was not powerful enough, but that Bubbles' cultivation was too low, while the enemy's cultivation was too high. Bubbles had no chance of escaping with the help of the formation. Take down the space-time spirit mouse. The black-robed cultivator in the sky spoke once again. Buzz! 12 black-robed cultivators stepped forward with formation discs floating above their heads. They sealed off the space and surrounded Bubbles. Boom! At this moment, a huge pagoda came crashing down on Lu Ming. The attacks of the 4 experts arrived again. Flapping his black wings, Lu Ming dashed forward at lightning speed, not wanting to collide with the huge pagoda. However, what greeted him was a terrifying saber light. The 4 experts controlled their sacred weapons and attacked together, not giving Lu Ming any chance to catch his breath. There was no way to avoid it. Lu Ming threw a punch. The shadow of the prison-suppressing monument was faintly discernible. Boom! The fist collided with the saber light. Lu Ming destroyed the saber light, but his body was also sent flying. The 12 black-robed cultivators sealed off the space and surrounded Lu Ming, trying to suppress Lu Ming in the space. Fight! A fierce look flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. The third bloodline continuously poured energy into Lu Ming's body. Not enough, more. Lu Ming roared in his heart, madly borrowing the power of the third bloodline. The power in the third bloodline seemed to be endless. As the power crazily poured in, Lu Ming's body exploded with a terrifying killing intent. Lu Ming's eyes turned blood red, and so did his hair. It was as if he was bleeding. At this moment, the huge pagoda came crashing down. Get lost! Lu Ming punched out. Dong! A terrifying sound was heard, and the sky trembled. The huge pagoda was sent flying by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled, and he stepped on the void, retreating more than 10 steps. However, he still managed to block it, unlike before when he was sent flying and vomited blood. Boom! A huge iron rod swept toward Lu Ming from one side, accompanied by a loud rumbling sound. Everything in its way was about to be smashed into smithereens. Lu Ming punched out again, and it collided with the huge rod. Buzz! The huge rod kept vibrating, and it was sent flying by the terrifying power. However, Lu Ming was the same, and he was sent flying 1,000 meters, creating a passage of air waves in the sky. However, in the sky, a small mountain came crashing down on Lu Ming. The four of them joined forces, and their attacks seemed endless. Not enough, still not enough, more, more, more. Lu Ming roared, and he threw caution to the wind. The power of the third bloodline poured into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body swelled because of the terrifying power. His hair was blood red, and his eyes were like a demon from the abyss of hell. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and endless killing intent, together with the divine sword art, spread out in all directions. Although these people had already prepared for the divine sword art's defense, the endless killing intent still made them shiver and their hearts tremble. Boom! Lu Ming punched the small mountain above his head, and this time, Lu Ming's body did not move at all. Kill! Lu Ming stomped his foot, and with a swoosh, rushed out, and rushed towards the person who was controlling the divine weapon. The other party's true yuan boiled, and he slashed out a terrifying saber light. Lu Ming's punch directly shattered the saber light, and he rushed towards the other party at an extreme speed. The terrifying killing intent shrouded the other party, and his face turned pale. Splitting light with a thought, saber breaking the firmament. The divine sword vibrated, and in an instant, it slashed out hundreds of times. However, the hundreds of saber lights eventually condensed into 9. The 9 saber lights connected head to tail, and they continuously slashed towards Lu Ming. The terrifying saber intent constantly cut Lu Ming's body. However, it was blocked by a layer of terrifying energy on Lu Ming's body. Bam! Bam! Chapter 1558. Kill! The iron fist punched out, causing the void to tremble violently. The other party's expression changed drastically as he used the sage saber to block. Clang! The other party was sent flying and crashed into a mountain peak, vomiting blood. Lu Ming stepped forward, wanting to rush up and kill this person. Die! Suddenly, a loud shout came from the sky. A black light flashed, and an invisible force bombarded Lu Ming's spiritual deity. The defensive armor on the spiritual deity shone and blocked the attack, but it kept trembling. A soul attack! Lu Ming's heart trembled. At this moment, buzz! 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 Around him, at least a dozen people attacked at the same time, using soul attack techniques to attack Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spirit deity was shaken. These people were all high-level martial emperors, and one of the soul attacks belonged to the person who gave the order. It was terrifyingly powerful. If not for Lu Ming's powerful soul and the spiritual deity's defensive treasure, his soul would have been destroyed. This is the divine sword art. You are from the evil spirit sect. Lu Ming roared. He finally knew who the other party was. The evil spirit sect. They were definitely from the evil spirit sect. They were not from the heavenly divinity sect, the heavenly universe demon sect, or the poison desire sect, but from the evil spirit sect. The evil spirit sect had targeted him. More than a dozen experts attacked Lu Ming with soul attacks. At this moment, the attacks from the pagoda, the small mountain, and the giant rod also arrived. Roar! Lu Ming roared like a wild beast. More energy surged into his third bloodline, filling Lu Ming's heart with endless killing intent. His mind was almost drowned by the endless killing intent. Boom! He sent the giant iron rod flying with a punch. Then, his black wings flapped crazily and bombarded the small mountain and the pagoda, sending them flying. Then, he took a step forward and charged toward the expert who was controlling the saber. Let's go! The expert was shocked and wanted to escape, but his body stiffened when Lu Ming's terrifying killing intent enveloped him. Pfft! Lu Ming flew over. His black wings were like blades as he killed this person. Lu Ming grabbed the saint artifact, and with a flap of his black wings, he charged towards the expert controlling the small mountain. From all directions, soul attacks continuously rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming forcefully withstood the soul attacks and charged forward. Clang! The holy saber slashed down at the other party, who used a small mountain to block, but the small mountain was sent flying. The other party's face was pale as he quickly retreated. On the other side, the huge pagoda charged towards Lu Ming, wanting to rescue the cultivator controlling the small mountain. Whoosh! Lu Ming threw out the holy blade in his hand to block the pagoda. Lu Ming's figure did not stop as he continued to attack his opponent. With a punch, the other party was unable to recall Xiao Shan in time and could only block it with his own strength. However, in Lu Ming's current state, his strength was astonishing. The opponent's spirit weapon was directly torn apart by Lu Ming's punch. The terrifying fist force killed the opponent in the air. Retreat, retreat! The other two were shocked. They did not dare to get close to Lu Ming and frantically retreated. Lu Ming's current state was too terrifying. He was completely like a legendary bloodthirsty demon, extremely terrifying. I'll do it. At this moment, the black-robed man who had given the order in the sky moved. He took a step forward and unsheathed his sword. A beam of sword light instantly crossed the void and slashed towards Lu Ming. It was fast, extremely fast. Moreover, the terrifying pressure made even Lu Ming almost drown in the endless killing intent. He was shocked. The sword light reached Lu Ming's throat in an instant. It was going to cut off Lu Ming's head. This was a half-saint with 1 foot in the saint realm. It seemed that there was only 1 level difference between a half-saint and a 9th-level martial royal realm, but the combat strength of a half-saint was much stronger than that of a 9th-level martial royal realm. It was easy for a half-saint to kill a 9th-level martial royal realm person. Roar! At this moment, Lu Ming let out a loud roar. At the critical moment, he moved to the side. Puff! In the end, Lu Ming's chest was still swept by the sword light. The genuine vitality, the chaotic field, and the dragon scales on his skin were directly cut open, revealing a deep sword wound. Even his bones were broken and blood flowed out. At the same time, the terrifying sword chi kept drilling into Lu Ming's body, trying to destroy Lu Ming's physical body. There was no doubt that the weapon used by the black-robed man was also a holy weapon. Otherwise, it would not have such terrifying power. Whoosh! The black-robed man did not kill Lu Ming. The black-robed man's sword light turned again and slashed towards Lu Ming's waist. The black-robed man flapped his wings and swept towards Lu Ming. Clang! The sword light cut the black-robed man's wings. The black-robed man's wings vibrated violently. A terrifying force bombarded Lu Ming. Lu Ming flew backwards and smashed into a mountain, breaking it apart. There was a loud explosion. The next moment, Lu Ming's body flew out from the rubble. A 5th-level martial royal realm person has such strong vitality. No wonder the elder asked us to send so many people. This person must be killed as soon as possible. Lu Ming's tenacity made the black-robed half-saint feel a little dignified. He stepped out and turned into a beam of sword light, attacking Lu Ming. The terrifying sword power made Lu Ming's hair stand on end and his muscles tense, even though he was far away. It's the power of the Dharma. Lu Ming let out a low growl. The black-robed man was obviously a half-saint who had mastered the Dharma. He was extremely powerful. There were strong and weak half-saints. A half-saint who had mastered the power of the Dharma was absolutely terrifying. The sword light approached Lu Ming in an instant. Chirp! 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 A transparent bubble suddenly appeared above the black-robed half-saint and enveloped him. However, the black-robed man's body was almost unaffected. The sword light burst out and directly broke the transparent bubble. Spacetime spiritual mouse, controlling time and space. It's really mysterious. Unfortunately, it's too weak. The black-robed half-saint said in a hoarse voice. 2 black beams of light shot out from his eyes and pierced Lu Ming. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 black beams of light also shot out from Lu Ming's eyes. They used the holy sword skill at the same time. After the black beams of light collided, the black-robed half-saint directly defeated Lu Ming's. The sword light did not stop and continued to attack Lu Ming. The black-robed man was a half-saint who also practiced the holy sword skill. His soul power was stronger than that of an ordinary half-saint. Even though Lu Ming's soul power was dozens of times stronger than that of a martial artist at the same level, he was still weaker than the black-robed man. Chirp! 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 The black-robed man swung his sword and shattered the chirp. Chirp! 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 Break! Chapter 1559. The black-robed half-saint slashed Bubbles' body with his sword. Bubbles' body shattered like glass. It was a spatial afterimage. Bubbles' real body had appeared on the other side of the black-robed half-saint. With a wave of his claws, the space-time domain enveloped the opponent. On the other side, Lu Ming's black feather wings flapped and slashed towards the black-robed half-saint like two blades. At the same time, his genuine vitality rushed into the flowing energy gloves and punched his opponent. Whoosh! Whoosh! Facing the joint attack of Lu Ming and Bubble, the black-robed half-saint's face did not change at all. His sword radiance bloomed and he slashed twice. The first slash broke Bubbles' space-time domain. The second slash blocked the attack of the black feather wings and hit Lu Ming's fist. Boom! Lu Ming's fist seemed to have hit a terrible force. Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was sent flying. At the same time, a strong force passed through the flowing energy gloves and blasted into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming to spurt blood. The power of the Dharma! Lu Ming was shocked. The power of the Dharma was too strong. The Dharma was the foundation of heaven and earth. A world was made up of different Dharma. Its power was far stronger than a domain. No matter how mysterious Lu Ming's chaotic domain was, it was still a domain. It could not withstand the erosion of the Dharma. Unless in the future, Lu Ming could transform the chaotic domain into the chaotic law. Then, it could suppress other Dharma. Chirp chirp, Bubbles screamed and performed the space-time domain. His body flashed around the black-robed half-saint and he attacked continuously. The black-robed half-saint could not attack him at all. Get lost! At this time, the black-robed half-saint seemed to be really angry with Bubble. He shouted coldly and a terrible aura burst out from his body. A terrifying true essence, like a black demonic flame, was burning fiercely, bombarding in all directions. The black-robed half-saint burst out his strong genuine vitality and crushed it in all directions. As such, Bubble was unable to dodge and was sent flying by the surge of true essence. Suppress him! The black-robed half-saint's cold voice sounded. Buzz! The 12 black-robed men controlled the formation plate and suppressed the bubble, sealing the void. Boom! The black-robed half-saint used his powerful vital essence to blast the bubble into that area. The 12 black-robed men controlled the formation plate and sealed off the area, trapping the bubble in the void. Chirp chirp, Bubbles screamed and used the space-time domain, wanting to rush out. However, the void seemed to have turned into an iron wall. It was completely sealed and Bubble couldn't rush out at all. Let him go! Lu Ming roared and flapped his black wings, rushing towards the 12 black-clothed men. Kill! The black-robed half-saint slashed horizontally with his sword. The sword radiance was thousands of meters long. It hit Lu Ming and sent Lu Ming flying. Today, none of you will leave. This place will be your burial ground. The black-robed half-saint said coldly. He took a step forward and became one with the holy weapon. He turned into a beam of brilliant sword light and stabbed toward Lu Ming's glabella. Fast, too fast. It was so fast that Lu Ming couldn't react in time. Moreover, a terrifying force locked onto Lu Ming, causing Lu Ming's muscles to tremble slightly. Whoosh! In an instant, the sword radiance approached. The terrifying sharpness pierced Lu Ming's glabella, causing pain. Roar! At the critical moment, Lu Ming roared. He reached forward with his right hand and grabbed the blade of the black-robed half-saint's holy weapon. Buzz buzz buzz, the holy weapon rubbed against the flowing element glove, making ear-piercing sounds and sparks. Although Lu Ming had grabbed hold of the sacred weapon battle sword, he was still pushing it forward slowly. With your cultivation, don't even think about grabbing my sword. Kill! The black-robed half-saint roared. His vital essence exploded and the holy weapon became stronger. It pushed Lu Ming back. Boom! After retreating for a while, Lu Ming crashed into a mountain. The entire mountain shook violently and almost exploded. Buzz buzz buzz, the sound of the sword rubbing against the glove became louder and louder. The sword was slowly approaching Lu Ming's glabella. Bang! Lu Ming's left hand was covered with dragon scales. It turned into a dragon claw and grabbed the blade, preventing it from moving forward. If this sword pierced through his glabella, the terrifying destructive power would erupt and he would definitely die. However, Lu Ming's left hand didn't have the flowing element glove. The blade of the holy weapon was so sharp that it directly cut through the chaotic field and vital essence covering his hand. It cut through the dragon scales on his hand. Lu Ming's hand was bleeding. His entire hand was almost cut off. Roar! Lu Ming ignored the pain and tried his best to stop the sword. You can't stop it. The black-robed half-saint kept urging his power. The force of the sword was getting stronger and stronger. Buzz buzz, on the other side, the 12 black-robed men sealed the void. The range was getting smaller and smaller. Bubble had nowhere to run and was about to be caught. Power, I need power, great power. At this moment, Lu Ming roared in his heart. His power was too weak. In the vast Yuan continent, his power was too weak. A martial emperor was like an ant. He desperately needed great power. He ignored the consequences and used the power of the third bloodline. If you want power, I'll give it to you. At this moment, a vast, deep, and ethereal voice sounded from the third bloodline. Boom! When the voice sounded, Lu Ming felt an explosion in his head. Then, his consciousness seemed to have entered the third bloodline. What entered his eyes was an incomparably huge and boundless sea of blood. The sea water seemed to be filled with endless blood. However, at this moment, the waves rolled and a face appeared in the boundless sea. It was a huge and boundless face. A pair of cold eyes looked at Lu Ming. Power, I'll give it to you. The huge face opened its mouth and a voice sounded. Boom! At this moment, endless murderous intent drowned Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have sunk into endless darkness. Only endless power surged into his body. Puff! Puff! At this moment, Lu Ming's hair was growing crazily. It was at least 2 meters long and it was dancing in the wind. Lu Ming's body was wriggling rapidly. In the end, hideous bone spikes grew out of his body. Lu Ming's eyes turned completely red. There was no trace of rationality in them. Roar! Lu Ming let out a roar like a wild beast. Kill, kill, kill! Lu Ming let out a loud roar and a terrifying power suddenly erupted. Clang! The power blasted into the holy weapon combat sword. The power passed through the combat sword and blasted into the arm of the black-robed half-saint. The black-robed half-saint's body shook violently. His arm exploded. He spat out blood and retreated. His eyes were filled with disbelief. You! What kind of monster are you? The black-robed half-saint roared in shock. Chapter 1560. Kill! 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 Lu Ming roared. He had completely lost his mind. There was only one thing in his mind, which was to kill everyone, kill all the living creatures in the world. Swoosh! Lu Ming threw out the holy weapon in his hand. The holy weapon whistled and tore through the void. It was so fast that a LV-8 Martial Royal Realm expert was pierced by the holy weapon and died on the spot. Swoosh! The black wings were covered with a layer of blood-red light, which made them even more powerful. With one flap, Lu Ming appeared in front of the black-robed half-saint and clawed at him. The black-robed half-saint's pupils contracted and he quickly retreated. However, he soon found that it was useless. Lu Ming's claw was faster than his retreating speed. It clawed at his body. Puff! Then, Lu Ming's other claw also clawed at his body. The half-saint's holy weapon armor was as fragile as paper. No, the black-robed half-saint screamed in horror. In the next moment, Lu Ming roared and tore the body of the black-robed half-saint into pieces. His spiritual spirit flew out in horror and was crushed into ashes by Lu Ming's foot. A half-saint who had comprehended the law was torn apart and killed by Lu Ming. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming roared. After killing one person, Lu Ming's killing intent became even stronger. Swoosh! With a flap of the black wings, Lu Ming rushed toward the 12 black-robed men who were imprisoning the bubble. Imprison him! One of the black-robed men roared and tried to control the disc to imprison Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming's claw tore the space apart. The space shook, but it could not imprison Lu Ming at all. In a flash, one of the black-robed men was killed. After one of the black-robed men was killed, the formation that imprisoned the space was broken. The bubble seized the opportunity and flew out. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming roared continuously and his black wings flapped wildly. Pft, pft, pft. The other men in black were killed by Lu Ming one by one. They did not even have the chance to escape. Chirp chirp, the bubble flew toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming grabbed at the bubble as if he did not know the bubble. The bubble hurriedly used the space-time domain and retreated to avoid Lu Ming's attack. Chirp chirp chirp, Bubbles looked at Lu Ming from afar. There was a look of anxiety in her big, black eyes. Roar! Lu Ming let out a beast-like roar and charged toward the others. Not good. Run! When the rest of the people saw that Lu Ming had easily killed the half-sages, they did not dare to fight back. But at this moment, Lu Ming's body was filled with boundless power. The black wings were strengthened by this power. The power of the sacred weapon seemed to have been completely stimulated and its speed was terrifying. Lu Ming's body flashed and appeared behind the 9th-layer martial royal realm expert who was controlling the sacred weapon iron rod. Go to hell! The black-robed man was terrified. He waved the sacred weapon iron rod in his hand and swept it toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming punched out and the sacred weapon iron rod was sent flying. The terrifying power flowed through the iron rod and into the black-robed man's hand, causing the black-robed man's palm to explode. Then, Lu Ming's body flashed. The black-robed man could not fight back and was torn apart by Lu Ming. Then, Lu Ming's body flashed and charged toward another black-robed man. With a wave of his hand, the black-robed man was killed. Then, Lu Ming's body flashed continuously. Hunting and killing took place in the void. Lu Ming killed each black-robed man with one move. Screams echoed in the night sky. There were dozens of black-robed men, all of whom were above the 7th-layer martial royal realm. They fled in all directions. Lu Ming was like a demon, chasing them everywhere. Half an hour later, Lu Ming caught up with the last black-robed man hundreds of thousands of miles away and killed him. This time, all the black-robed men who had come to kill Lu Ming were killed. After killing so many black-robed men, Lu Ming's killing intent did not weaken at all. Instead, it became even stronger. The cold killing intent made people shudder. Kill, kill, kill! Lu Ming roared. His heart was filled with endless killing intent. He wanted to kill everyone in the world. Chirp chirp, Bubbles appeared not far away. She looked at Lu Ming with worry and fear, not daring to get close. Whoosh! Lu Ming suddenly looked at Bubbles. He flapped his black wings and charged toward Bubbles. Bubbles was shocked. She hurriedly used the space-time domain and retreated quickly. Lu Ming continued to chase, but after a while, he realized that he could not catch up with Bubbles. He roared and flew into the distance. Bubbles' body flashed. She swallowed the black-robed men's holy weapons and storage rings one by one. Then, she followed Lu Ming from afar, worried. Below his feet were boundless mountains. Lu Ming flew at high speed, like a demon cutting through the night sky. In the forest below, some wild beasts and demonic beasts trembled when Lu Ming's murderous intent swept past them. They hid in their respective cave abodes, feeling extremely terrified. Lu Ming's blood-red eyes glanced at the forest below. He did not stop and continued to fly. It seemed that the beasts and monsters below were too weak for him to kill. Boundless mountains flashed past under his feet. A huge castle appeared in front of him. It was built on a towering mountain. There were guards around the castle. Roar! Seeing the castle, Lu Ming let out a loud roar that echoed in the night sky. Who's there? The guards of the castle immediately discovered Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming let out a roar and flapped his wings, dashing toward the castle. This is the Lu clan castle. Stop! The guard let out a roar, but was killed by Lu Ming in the next moment. Lu Ming dashed past the guards, leaving more than 10 corpses on the ground. Enemy attack! The entire castle was startled. The sound of drums could be heard as experts flew out from the castle. 4th layer Martial Dominator Realm, 5th layer Martial Dominator Realm, and even 8th layer Martial Dominator Realm experts. These people flew out and charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming let out a roar and charged into the crowd. A moment later, these experts were all dead. Demon! Someone yelled in terror and backed away. Close the gate and activate the formation. Someone in the castle yelled. Following this, the gate was closed and a formation was activated. Kill! Lu Ming charged toward the castle and threw a punch at the formation. Bang! The formation was shattered into pieces. Following this, Lu Ming dashed through the gate and blasted it open. Lu Ming charged into the castle and began a massacre. Demon! Run, run! The entire castle was in chaos as countless people fled in all directions. Demon, I'll kill you! A 9th layer Martial Dominator Realm old man dashed toward Lu Ming and was killed by Lu Ming with a single move. It seemed like the 9th layer Martial Dominator Realm was the strongest in the castle. The others were all below the 9th layer Martial Dominator Realm. Mother, mother, I'm scared. A childish cry could be heard from not far away. It was a 6 or 7-year-old girl. She was extremely cute, and her little face was red. At this moment, she was incomparably terrified. She was tightly hugging a young woman beside her. Xiang Xiang, the woman hugged the little girl tightly and glanced at Lu Ming in terror, trying to back away. Roar! Chapter 1561. Mother, the little girl hugged the young woman tightly. Her big eyes were filled with fear and innocence as she looked at Lu Ming. Seeing this pair of eyes, Lu Ming suddenly stopped. This pair of frightened and innocent eyes seemed to have touched Lu Ming's heartstrings. Lu Ming, who had been completely drowned in killing intent, recovered a little. No, no, I can't kill the innocent. That little bit of reason roared. Kill, kill, kill. But more than that, it was endless killing intent. Loud roars rang in Lu Ming's mind, urging him to slaughter the world. Don't kill my mother. The little girl was very scared. She hugged the young woman tightly and looked at Lu Ming with her big eyes. No, I can't kill her. I can't kill her. Lu Ming roared in his heart. His face became extremely ferocious. Roar! In the end, Lu Ming let out a terrifying roar. His figure soared into the sky and flew crazily into the distance. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Xiang Xiang, the young woman hugged the young woman. Tears fell like rain. Her body was trembling because of fear. Lu Ming roared. His black wings flapped crazily. At this moment, the only trace of reason in his heart was fighting an intense battle with the endless killing intent. Not far away, a white light flashed. Bubbles appeared and looked at Lu Ming worriedly. "Bubbles, leave. Leave quickly." Lu Ming roared. He was afraid that once he lost control, he would kill even Bubbles. "Chirp chirp," Bubbles shook her head and looked at Lu Ming from afar. Lu Ming roared and continued to fly forward. He felt that he was about to lose control. The endless killing intent was about to drown his trace of reason. He was about to turn back into a killing machine. He was unwilling, but the endless killing intent was too strong. It was constantly attacking his reason. At this moment, he only wanted to kill all the living beings in the world. Whoosh! Lu Ming flew through the air like a bolt of black lightning. After flying for an unknown distance, a huge forest appeared in front of Lu Ming. In the forest, fierce beasts roared and were full of vitality. Kill! Lu Ming could no longer control himself. He dashed into the forest and tore a giant tiger at the 7th level Emperor realm into 2 halves. Blood bathed his body. Lu Ming's killing intent became stronger. His trace of reason was once again drowned by the killing intent. Lu Ming crazily hunted fierce beasts in the forest. One by one, the powerful beasts died in Lu Ming's hands. Roar! A giant bear at the level of half-saint slapped its paw at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming punched the giant bear's paw directly. Then, with a slash of the black wings, the giant bear's head was chopped off. At this moment, Lu Ming was extremely powerful. He could kill a half-saint instantly. In this huge forest, fierce beasts fell to the ground one after another. Lu Ming was bathed in blood and killed countless fierce beasts. At this moment, a gentle-looking old man suddenly appeared in the sky above the forest. This old man was Lu Ming's master, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Ming-er. At the sight of Lu Ming, even the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley was shocked. What kind of power is this? Bloodline? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master frowned. Chirp chirp, at this moment, Bubble appeared not far away from the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. It waved its little claws and cried out, gesturing non-stop. Spacetime Spirit Mouse. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's eyes revealed a trace of shock again. He whispered, Ming-er is really lucky. Even the Spacetime Spirit Mouse is by his side. However, the more lucky one is, the more difficult it will be. After saying that, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master looked at Bubble and said, Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to Ming-er. After saying that, he took a step forward and headed towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming also noticed the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. His eyes were filled with shocking killing intent. He roared and charged towards the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. The black feather wings flapped, bringing with it a violent wind as it slashed towards the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley had a gentle expression on his face. He used his fingers like a sword and pointed slightly. A sword aura appeared and slashed the black wings. The black wings were blocked. However, Lu Ming roared and threw a punch at the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley. Ming-er, wake up! The Cloud Dragon Valley Master roared and the sound waves surged towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming felt like he was struck by lightning. His body was sent flying and he felt his head buzzing. I'll give you power. At this moment, the voice of the third bloodline sounded in Lu Ming's mind again. An even stronger power surged into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body became even more ferocious and filled with endless killing intent. Bam! Lu Ming took a step in the air and charged towards the Cloud Dragon Valley Master in a frenzy. The power of the bloodline. What kind of bloodline is this? Why is it so strange? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master frowned and pressed down with one hand. A huge palm appeared in the air and pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming roared and a bloody light burst out from his body as he charged towards the huge palm. Boom! Lu Ming was pressed down by the huge palm and his body was sent flying. He smashed into the ground and created a huge crater. That giant hand trembled for a moment before collapsing. What a strong power! The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley muttered, and the vital essence in his body surged. Between heaven and earth, an extremely mysterious force was controlled by the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley. Once again, it formed a huge claw and grabbed toward Lu Ming. It was the power of the laws. This time, the huge claw contained the power of the laws. Roar! Lu Ming roared and charged out of the crater. The bloody light around his body was almost solid as he charged towards the huge palm formed by the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Boom! The heavens and earth trembled and a formless shockwave swept out in all directions. The huge trees within a few hundred miles were swept away and exploded. Such destructive power was extremely shocking. One had to know that this was the Yuan continent and not the Divine Wilderness continent. If they were in the Divine Wilderness continent, such a force would be able to crack the ground for thousands of kilometers and pierce through it. Once again, Lu Ming was sent flying. However, the huge hand merely trembled for a moment and did not dissipate. It continued to move towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming charged forward again. Due to the strong power that had entered his third bloodline, cracks had appeared on his body and blood was flowing out continuously. After all, there was a limit to the strength of Lu Ming's body. He had already withstood too much power and could not inject more power into his body. Otherwise, his body would collapse. Lu Ming punched the huge palm again and was sent flying once again. However, this time, a second palm formed behind him and grabbed Lu Ming. Lu Ming roared and struggled with all his might, trying to break free from the palm. Suppress! The Cloud Dragon Valley Master muttered. He clenched his fist and his power erupted, grabbing Lu Ming tightly. No matter how Lu Ming struggled, he could not break free. His cultivation was far inferior to the Cloud Dragon Valley Masters. Chapter 1562. Lu Ming roared as blood spurted out, shattering the layer of ice. However, more layers of ice covered Lu Ming's body. Gradually, the layer of ice on Lu Ming's body became thicker and thicker. In the end, it turned into a huge block of ice, sealing Lu Ming inside. Lu Ming's body was sealed in ice and he could not move at all. The terrifying cold air constantly seeped into his body and mind. It was as if it wanted to freeze his murderous aura. Then, Valley Master Yunlong waved his hand and a bead flew out, floating above Lu Ming's head. Endless chill seeped into the block of ice and strengthened it. Chirp chirp, Bubble chirped as it flew near the block of ice with a worried and concerned face. All right, I have suppressed Ming's killing intent with my sacred weapon. I will bring him back to the Divine Dragon Valley and place him in the 10,000 years Ice Jade. I will use the chill of the Ice Jade to erase Ming's killing intent. Little guy, follow me back to the Divine Dragon Valley. Valley Master Yunlong said. Bubble nodded and landed on Valley Master Yunlong's shoulder. Valley Master Yunlong waved his hand and kept the block of ice that sealed Lu Ming. He then took a step forward and left the place. Not long after, Valley Master Yunlong returned to the Divine Dragon Valley and placed Lu Ming in the 10,000 years Ice Jade. He used the Ice Jade's chill to erase the chill on Lu Ming's body. Time flew by and the days passed. Not long after, the treasure sorting assembly ended and the news of the treasure sorting assembly spread throughout the Tsang state. This time, the Heavenly Gods sect was still the strongest and took the first place. The two ancient treasures were still in the Heavenly Gods sect's custody. The Heavenly Gods sect displayed even more terrifying strength in this treasure sorting assembly. The God's Son, ranked first among the top 10 monstrous talents, continued to take the first place and suppressed the other monstrous talents. He stood at the peak of the younger generation in the Tsang state and was unrivaled. The most shocking thing was that a new supreme talent had appeared in the Heavenly Gods sect. He was terrifyingly strong and was only second to the God's Son. He took the second place in this assembly. Since then, the top 10 monstrous talents in the Tsang state were reshuffled and the Heavenly Gods sect took the first two places. The news of Lu Ming challenging the god's son 3 years later was pushed to the forefront. There was news that after the god's son, the god sect's son. Given the deity's talent and the fact that he had been a half-saint for so many years, it would not be too difficult for him to break through to the saint realm. 3 years later, in the face of the Son of God who had reached the saint realm, what did Lu Ming have to compete with him? Many people even said that it was impossible for Lu Ming to compete with the Son of God. This was because if he were to participate in the treasure pedestal meeting, he would most likely be killed by the demon who was ranked second in the celestial sect. However, the Dragon God Valley had suffered a great loss in this treasure ranking meeting. Many powerful geniuses had been killed by the celestial god sect. Even Zi Feng, one of the top 10 geniuses, had returned with serious injuries. Of course, Lu Ming was unaware of all these. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Lu Ming had been frozen in the 10,000-year-old ice jade for half a year. On this day, a cracking sound could be heard from the 10,000-year-old ice jade. In the end, it cracked completely. Lu Ming opened his eyes after half a year. There was still a hint of murderous intent in his eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. Lu Ming withdrew it. Where am I? Lu Ming looked around. He found that he was in an underground ice cellar. There were ice cubes everywhere. There was a trace of confusion in his eyes. He only remembered that when he was attacked by the evil spirit sect, he had no choice but to borrow the power of the third bloodline. In the end, he was drowned by endless murderous intent and completely lost his mind. Later, because of a little girl, he regained a bit of his mind and rushed into a forest. He couldn't remember what happened after that. What happened after that? Ming, you're awake. At this time, a gentle voice sounded. An elder walked over. Master. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The elder who came was his master, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Master, were you the one who saved me? Lu Ming got up and bowed to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master as he asked curiously. I've left a mark on each of you, so I'll be able to sense your location within a certain range. Luckily, your location wasn't too far away from the Dragon God Valley, so I immediately rushed over as soon as I sensed it. If I was too far away, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Lu Ming had a lingering fear. Indeed, if the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley had not saved him, he would have been reduced to a killing machine from then on. In the end, he would have been besieged and killed by other powerful figures. Chirp chirp, at this time, a cry sounded. A white light rushed out from the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's shoulder and flew into Lu Ming's arms. It was Bubbles. At this time, Bubbles was curled up in Lu Ming's arms. Its furry body rubbed against Lu Ming's body. Bubbles. Lu Ming stroked Bubbles' soft fur, feeling very apologetic. Back then, he must have done something to Bubbles. Master, how long have I been asleep? Lu Ming asked. Half a year. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Half a year. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect that he would be asleep for half a year. My cultivation level. Lu Ming sensed his cultivation level and found that he had broken through. Back then, he was at the peak of the 5th level martial royal realm. Now, he had broken through to the early 6th level martial royal realm. He reckoned that he had digested some of the endless energy in his bloodline, and the energy in the 10,000-year ice jade had also entered his body, causing his cultivation level to break through naturally in the past 6 months. My chaotic domain has also reached the 6th level. Lu Ming thought to himself. Ming, what happened to you back then? Why did you enter a state of massacre? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master asked. Master, on my way back from Tsang Mountain, I was intercepted by the evil spirit sect. Then, Lu Ming recounted what had happened back then. The evil spirit sect, it was actually the evil spirit sect. It seems that the evil spirit sect has really revived. Ming, perhaps because of your performance in Tsang Mountain, you have been targeted by the evil spirit sect. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's eyes were grave. I have been targeted by the evil spirit sect. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. The evil spirit sect specializes in hunting people with the potential to become thearchs or directly hunting thearchs. Perhaps they think that you have the potential to become a thearch, so they sent people to hunt you down. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master guessed. Maybe. Lu Ming muttered. However, he felt that it was not that simple. Perhaps it was related to the prison-suppressing monument bloodline. Back then, he had used the prison-suppressing monument bloodline to destroy Elder Demon Soul's physical body. Elder Demon Soul might not have died. Ming, so you entered that state of massacre entirely because of your bloodline? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master asked. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. I have never heard of such a bloodline. There is actually such a strange bloodline in this world. Ming, try not to use this bloodline in the future, or even not. Chapter 1563. Lu Ming nodded. The third bloodline was simply too strange. He felt a lingering fear in his heart. In the third bloodline, the endless sea of blood and the huge face above the sea of blood. What exactly was that? How could there be such a strange bloodline in the world? It was completely different from the other bloodlines. Other bloodlines could not contain such terrifying power. Moreover, it seemed to have its own will. Ming, although I sealed you in the 10,000-year ice jade and used it to erase your killing intent, some killing intent has already seeped into the depths of your heart and soul. This is also a potential danger. In the future, you might be affected by this hidden killing intent and slowly change your personality, becoming a bloodthirsty person. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Master, what should I do? Lu Ming asked. Go out and train. Walk in nature and train your heart. Use the chi of heaven and earth to erase the killing intent in the depths of your soul. Only then will you be able to get rid of the influence of the killing intent. It will also be of great help to your cultivation in the future. To become a sage, you need to control the laws. The laws are also in nature. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Yes, Master. Lu Ming nodded. Go out and train for a year. After a year, return to the Cloud Dragon Valley and I will send you to a place. That place may be of greater help to you when you defeat the Divine Prince 2.5 years later. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Obviously, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master already knew that Lu Ming had challenged the Divine Prince. Master, where is that place? Lu Ming was curious. It's a place filled with endless dangers, but it's also a place filled with endless opportunities. Before you go there, you must eliminate the killing intent in the depths of your spiritual deity. Otherwise, once you enter that place, it's very likely that you'll be affected by the killing intent and become a bloodthirsty person. When you return in a year, you'll naturally know. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Lu Ming had no choice but to give up. By the way, Master, there seems to be an expert from the intentionless saber sect among the people of the evil spirit sect. Lu Ming suddenly said. Thoughtless saber sect? It looks like some sects have already been infiltrated by the evil spirit sect. Ming, I will discuss this with the Valley Master and the other sect masters. You don't have to worry too much. Alright, go out. Old 7, Old 8, I've been waiting for you for a long time. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master frowned, then smiled. Lu Ming nodded. That was related to the top sects of the Tsang state. With his current strength, he could only reveal the information. He couldn't do anything else. He believed that those sect masters would be more concerned about the evil spirit sect infiltrating the top sects of the Tsang state. There was no need for him to worry. Senior brother Tian Chui and senior sister Shui. Afterward, Lu Ming revealed a smile on his face. He followed the Cloud Dragon Valley Master out of the ice cellar and into a glacial valley. This was still a part of the Cloud Dragon Valley. Two figures were waiting outside. They were Tian Chui and Xuaningxin. Little junior brother, you're finally awake. It's great that you're fine. Little junior brother, you slept for half a year. When Tianshui and Xuanixin saw Lu Ming, they smiled. 7th senior brother, 8th senior sister, long time no see. Lu Ming also smiled. Then, he looked around and said, congratulations, senior brother and senior sister. You've broken through to the 7th stage martial emperor. In half a year, Tianshui and Xuanixin's cultivation had improved greatly. They had reached the 7th stage martial emperor and entered the ranks of the high-level martial emperors. If we don't hurry up, junior brother will catch up with us. Tianshui laughed and said. You guys chat first. Ming, if you go out, you don't have to report to me. Just come back in a year. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said and took a step forward. His figure disappeared. Little junior brother, let's go. We haven't seen each other for half a year. Let's go and have a few drinks. Tianshui grinned. Okay. Lu Ming agreed happily. The three of them went to Tianshui's cave abode. Tianshui took out more than 10 jars of wine. Xuanixin was very generous. She picked up a jar and drank it in one go. Junior sister, drink slower. I don't have that much wine for you to drink like that. Tianshui said eagerly. Stingy. Xuanixin glanced at Tianshui with disdain. Tianshui's face turned bitter. Lu Ming laughed and picked up a jar of wine. The three of them drank to their heart's content. After 3 rounds of wine, Lu Ming said goodbye to Tianshui and Xuanixin and strode out of the Cloud Dragon Valley. After a while, a beam of light cut across the void. Lu Ming stepped on the air and left the Divine Dragon Valley. Lu Ming did not take the sky-piercing flying shuttle because it was meaningless. Lu Ming did not have a goal for this trip. Just like what the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said, he wanted to walk in nature and use the chi of heaven and earth to eliminate the killing intent in the depths of his soul. Chirp chirp, in Lu Ming's arms, Bubbles cried. Then, she opened her mouth and a long spear flew out from her mouth. Black Dragon Spear. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Back then, when he was surrounded by many evil spirit sect experts, Lu Ming had thrown out the Black Dragon Spear and killed one of them. Later, he did not have time to retrieve it. It turned out that Bubbles had kept it. Lu Ming grabbed the Black Dragon Spear in his hand and kept it in his sea of consciousness. Thank you, Bubbles. Lu Ming patted Bubbles' furry little head. Bubbles cried softly and revealed a comfortable expression. Then, she opened her mouth and 5 weapons flew out in succession. All of them were sacred weapons. A battle saber, a battle sword, an iron rod, a small mountain, and a pagoda. They were the sacred weapons that the evil spirit sect had used to kill Lu Ming. Ha, Bubbles, you're too awesome. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He waved his hand and kept the 5 sacred weapons. Then, dozens of storage rings flew out of Bubbles' mouth. Needless to say, they were all storage rings left behind by those who had killed Lu Ming. Lu Ming was overjoyed and kept all of them. Then, he took out all the spirit herbs inside and gave them to Bubbles. Bubbles held a ginseng that was even bigger than its body and chewed on it. Bubbles' cultivation is also improving very quickly. Lu Ming sensed carefully with a smile on his face. The Titan Longhorn Beetle had given Bubbles a time and space crystal back then. Bubbles used this time and space crystal to cultivate and improved very quickly. Lu Ming's flying speed was not fast. After leaving the Dragon God Valley's range, his speed became even slower. He did not have a goal and was moving casually. If he felt something or was deep in thought, he would stop. Sometimes, when he saw beautiful scenery, his mood would be broadened. He would also stop and enjoy the beautiful scenery to nourish his mood. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. That is, suddenly, Lu Ming looked ahead and his expression changed. In front of him, on a towering mountain peak sat a huge fortress. Lu Ming's thoughts couldn't help but return to half a year ago. When he was drowned in killing intent, he had killed his way into a castle. That castle was the one in front of him.